They said he's guilty.
Circumstances. So I think, that was their verdict. Now we'll see what happens with this jury in the punishment phase. Right. So we're probably going to see a brief break, and the parties will get a chance to gather themselves, if you will, and the judge decide if he wanted to go ahead and begin the punishment phase of the case, maybe in 15, 20 minutes or so, or if he break. Given that he got the jurors sequestered, I think that they will get back started on testimony relatively quickly. Let me ask you a question. Do you have a client who is a teenager who's a 3.8 GPA, has no bad record, has no juvenile history, has no engagement with law enforcement, has made this decision that has left him guilty of murder? How do you work in the punishment phase? What do you try to do to lift? I think you gotta first you want to console your client and the family briefly, but you're gonna have to quickly turn to your anticipated punishment evidence, which is going to be the state again going first. You're going to hear more character information. It takes a while when you get an adverse verdict for the person to really accept and understand it. The state may be moving to have his bond held insufficient, meaning that if he walked in the courthouse today, that he won't be walking out tonight. Your client's going to have a whole lot of anxiety. The range of punishment is 5 to 99 years. When you hear a guilty verdict of murder, you're certainly going to see your life flash before you, because you recognize you could face imprisonment for the rest of your life. The attorney, if you get everybody calmed down, you need to start thinking of your most mitigating factors. Probably here will be age of the offender and no criminal history. All right, so we are following this breaking news right here as a jury has just announced that Carmelo Anthony, they have found him guilty of murder. This is a live look right here from outside of the courthouse. And earlier, we did see some very tense moments between folks there outside of the courthouse. That's when law enforcement stepped in. But this is the scene right now. Moments after a jury came back.
Thumbs up, everybody, please. Thank you.
Anthony guilty of murder. As we continue to follow this breaking news, I do want to bring in legal analyst and attorney Jeremy Rosendahl, who has been following this case since it began. And Jeremy, we appreciate you joining us here on Live Now from Fox. Thank you for having me, Steph. So I want to start with the fact that the jury deliberated for just about 3 hours, coming back with the verdict guilty of murder. And they had the opportunity to also find Carmelo Anthony not guilty or guilty of manslaughter. As we take a look at this verdict, what is your initial reaction? Carmelo Anthony and his team got all of the jury charges that they asked for. They asked for manslaughter. They asked for self-defense. And clearly a big victory for the prosecution in this case. The Collin County DA's office put a lot of effort, a lot of resources into this, and obviously a very severe disappointment for Carmelo Anthony and his team. When you're defending the case, I'm a firm believer in what you might call compromised verdicts, meaning that I feel like jurors really don't like giving one side a complete victory over another. You see things about runaway juries and big jury verdicts and things like that. In plaintiff cases, those are really the exception and not the rule. So the more questions you pose to a jury, the more chances that they have to come back and say, well, we don't agree with you on this, we don't agree with you on this, but we agree with you on this. So here, Carmelo Anthony and his team had two functional exit ramps, if you will, here in the verdict. One being self-defense, the other being manslaughter. The jury didn't take either. You still have one decision left, which is the punishment verdict. It's still possible that the punishment is a low one or a lower one. He's looking at 5 years to 99 years in prison or life. The range on a manslaughter would have been 2 to 20. So those overlap. So it's not over for his defense team, and certainly they had an eye towards punishment and that verdict. So that's what we're going to see next. Yeah, and speaking of the sentencing phase, how quickly might we find out what that sentence could be? So what's going to happen now is, as you may have heard if you were watching, so in all likelihood, Carmelo Anthony's bond is going to be held insufficient probably right now. And what that means is that he would be taken into custody and that he's not going home tonight. He was on bond before that bond is
Mm.
no longer good. So he
This
would
is in Texas, y'all.
recess for the day. They may not. It's 2:30 Texas time. So the judge may say, send everybody home. The judge may want to go directly into the punishment phase. The punishment phase is its own distinct phase of trial. The prosecution gets to call witnesses and have testimony, almost certainly of the Metcalfs, their family, the mother, the father, potentially the twin brother Hunter. They may all very well testify. Also, they can get into facts about Carmelo Anthony should they want to. I don't know that they will. Carmelo Anthony does.
Mhm.
He may have some bumps and scrapes and things like
On my battery.
I haven't heard anything that's that damaging. And then the defense goes into a mitigation case where they talk about his upbringing, his childhood, sort of what went into his mindset. He has the ability to testify again or not. They may do that. My thought is probably no because they've already declined to have him testify during a time when I think it would have probably
See
been
what they say. He was found guilty.
rates again and comes up with a number between 5 and 99.
What a name.
Jeremy, I want to go back to a point which you just raised the fact that Carmelo Anthony did not testify on his own behalf. How do you
Not the basketball player or his son.
I was somewhat surprised that he didn't testify in his own defense. To raise self-defense, you usually have to take the witness stand. You have a
Trying to see if it's gonna be any problems.
like self-defense, meaning you have to take the witness stand and you have to say something like, "Yes, I took these actions, but I did so in self-defense." Right? That I had a fear that my life was in danger, and that's really sort of on two levels. One level is the law, it's legal sufficiency. The judge has to hear certain magic words, or they can't give you the charge. The second is the believability factor. It was apparent that the defense's strategy here was that they were going to raise the self defense issue through different witnesses, which is always kind of a dicey, risky move because the judge could turn you down. The judge gave them the instruction, but obviously it wasn't persuasive. So, had Carmelo Anthony testified, it may be that this would have turned out better. I mean, between you, me, and everything else that's going on here, it's clear that the verdict couldn't have been worse for him. So, of course, we're kind of armchair quarterbacking it. But you would have expected him to take the stand and testify. And
They
for
want
the
me
reason
recording the whole thing, but
entire trial
what I do is wish enough people to like this so I could come back.
played out, is there a particular moment, perhaps,
Since the court is let out.
you can see that this live look has ended? So I'm going to give our viewers just another look. This is from the ground of the crowd gathering there outside of the courthouse. But is there anything, Jeremy, that really stood out to you in terms of
So far it's looking peaceful, but the sentencing haven't took place yet.
this is my area. I practice in Collin County, and I was privileged enough to watch some of the trial last week on Friday. We watched Austin Metcalf receive CPR on a body camera. It was extremely dramatic, and any lawyer will tell you that we live and work and breathe at the courthouse all day, every day, and that was as palatable a moment in a courthouse as I have ever observed. It was extremely dramatic, and it was very, very turning. Also, I think that the prosecution won a lot of what I would characterize as sort of the inside battles. The prosecutor in this case, a lawyer by the name of Bill Werski, is an outstanding trial attorney. And he had a very good rapport with a lot of the witnesses, and so really they were able to win some of those kind of
We're
smaller
not judging. We're not making anything racial. Um,
people vote with
it's
emotion.
just a bad, unfortunate situation.
Maybe decide this, but it's the emotion
Bullying situation that turned into a murder. Someone lost their life. And
that
that's something you can't get back.
won a lot of those smaller victories.
But the young man, Carmelo, was bullied.
Will begin today. And you were mentioning that that's not,
And he brought a knife.
you know, as we
And the guy approached him under a tent, told him he had to get out,
learned that you're
used the knife on the other guy.
you have a case like this. I
And
think
now he's been
the prosecution
guilty,
has the upper hand in this
declared
case,
guilty.
or the jury verdict. When you look at it, you had a confession. Everything was right there. There was no question about who did this, and this was a very weak self-defense claim. This was either going to be
Okay, so yeah, I'll come back when I hear more or know more, anything about the situation. Um, once they do the sentencing, I'll come back because my battery is going dead.
young defendant.
And I appreciate everybody that did tune in. And thanks for my one like.
That sort of go into that.